Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to go over some pet sympathy cards. My sister's a vet and needed some of these, so I'm trying them out. We're going to use a gel press. We're going to do lots of fun techniques. So please make sure you hit that subscribe and like button if you hadn't done that yet, and know that all the products I use will be linked in the description below. We're going to start with some gel press basics. If you don't have one of these, they're very inexpensive. You'll need a brayer and the gel plate, but it's a great way to make lots of backgrounds pretty quickly. I love using this with stencils. So today we're going to use some distress oxides, some stencils, and we're going to mass produce this sunray stencil background so that I can make several cards from it. I do like using my waffle flower media mat to attach this to because it doesn't slide around. I know Jennifer McGuire has used a Misty. That's also a great option, but the gel press itself is a little sticky. I have no idea why I decided I was going to tape down this stencil. I thought about doing a comparison of just a regular stenciling with blending brushes versus doing the gel press, but I end up picking this stencil up and using it on this gel press. My favorite way to use the gel press or to ink it up is to use Distress Oxides. I usually pick a couple of coordinating colors and just stamp them randomly on there. This one I did the darker color in the lower part and the lighter color up top just because I felt that's the way sun rays usually look. So once I have put my color on, then I'm going to go put my stencil. I use the brayer to press that stencil down. I think that just keeps it, you can kind of see when it first starts, it's got some bubbles underneath it. So I feel like that helps a lot if you'll use your brayer for it. You could use your hands too. And then with a stencil, I'm going to first impression press over a stencil. I use my brayer for all of my impressions, so that does give you some of the color from the brayer on the back of your paper, so you have to be okay with that. You can see when I flip this over that I didn't get all the way down at the bottom or the side, so I just didn't press hard enough, but I also, there's a ridge on this stencil. Got to watch where I'm putting things so that I'm not covering up the very bottom. That will still work out fine with what I'm going to do. You can always adjust your paper based on how you want it to look, but this one I try to go up just a little bit so I don't end up with that bottom part cut off. So I've got more options with it. So this is the press after pulling a stencil off. So I'm going to show you how cool this looks. This is going to be a little bit lighter impression because some of the ink is gone, but it really looks very cool. So here it is. I try to be careful with pulling it off of there so that it doesn't make my fingernail marks in the paint. But look at all that. I mean, it's not, you're not going to get perfect with this, but it just, the effects are so cool. So you can see my first two impressions over at the side. I decided I'd go ahead and re-ink because I want to be able to do mostly darker colors of these versus having another light impression. I will show you that last impression you can get. I mean, you can keep going and keep getting an imprint of that stencil for a couple more things, but we'll do another one with a stencil. I'm trying to move that area that it has no that's covered up at that very bottom. It's probably like 1/8 of an inch down there, if you can see that. Tried to move that down a little further on the gel press to see if I could get all of this in here. With this one, I still don't get all of my last little beams. I probably needed to just go over that bottom area a little bit more, but it also is a very detailed stencil, and I feel like I do better with this as it gets wider, so you can see here. So see that bottom, it's not all perfect to the exact same point, but it is still usable and great and, like I said, fast. So we're going to take it off, do another imprint without the stencil on there. So I used a bigger piece of paper for this one. Sometimes I'll just cut an 8.5 and 11 in half because my gel press is 6 by 6, and that gives me some more room that if there's a spot that's messed up, I can just cut this paper how I want to. It's definitely wasting some of that white paper at the bottom. I use that a lot of times for extra backing to sentiments, things like that. I usually keep that page, but this paper that I'm using is the Accent white. It's from Amazon. It's a really heavy duty paper, and I will link to it in the description. I promised I would show you what that third impression looks like. So this is the third impression from a stencil. So the first one's with the stencil on, the second one is the first one pulled off of the stencil, and then this is what's left over after that third impression. I end up doing this on this one and think, I really like it. It's definitely lighter. So we'll compare all three. We've got that one that's right after the stencil. This one is the far left is through the stencil, the middle is after the stencil, and the third one is the next impression after the stencil. So you can see how those do, and you can do a lot of different effects. When I'm going to clean my gel press, a lot of times I will just stamp and so that I've got some extra of that yellow color that I've been using, and I'll do one more impression, and then if I decide to use the back of this sheet, I can. Since I was doing sun rays, I thought, let me try to make some cloudy backgrounds, and I got this new Slimline stencil from Lawn Fawn and decided I would see what happens if I try to do kind of a border stencil. This is definitely a lot trickier on a gel press, but it ended up making kind of a cool effect. So I wanted to show you, speed it up real quick, how I did that. I started with my border here, and I've got a slimline piece of paper. I couldn't really do the whole thing because of the fact that the gel press is too small. Sorry about my head right there. And then I just kind of play with laying it down. I'm sure there's a way that you could do this more exact, but it really does look kind of cool. So I just keep flipping my stencil over, adding impressions, and seeing what it looks like. And I do end up using this as a background on one of them. It's kind of an artsy, cool little cloud background. So I think I like it. Next, I'm going to show you how I put the rainbow together. I'm going to speed this up, but I just die cut tons of these from the Stamp Market's variety pack of scrapbook paper because that already is in a rainbow, and I just thought that would make it easier just to go along with their colors and try this out. I want you to notice that this long slimline, it stays together, which in a way is kind of nice because you're not having to pick each piece out of your die that you put through your die cutter. Also, if you don't know how to die cut, I'll link that up here. Another thing that's cool about this from Erin Lee Creative is that each of these rainbow pieces still pull apart, so I can kind of separate it and really line it up on that piece when I'm adding color. For this rainbow, I did speed this up. I will skip ahead to the end so that you can see what it looks finalized. One last tip is that I would really suggest you put glue all the way across this because I did not make all slimline cards. I cut these rainbows, and if you cut them apart and you haven't glued every single piece together, you're going to end up having to put it back together. So just remember that. Here's the final rainbow, and you can still move the pieces apart as you can see. So just so you know, if you're wanting to fix something or do anything with that. I love rainbows, but I really love sparkle rainbows. So I'm going to show you how I made several of mine sparkle. Did speed this up because it is a little bit of a tedious process. Basically, I'm going to use this glitter paint. It's called IZink, and of course, I'm going to link it in the bottom. This stuff is amazing. The reason I love this kind of glitter paste is they've got tons of colors. It's really pretty inexpensive. It's $5.99 at my local craft store, and it has 80 mils of product in it. Now, when I look at my glitter glitz from Gina K, it has 70 mils, and usually that's about $8. And then the Nuvo Glimmer paste, it has 50 mils, and it's about the same. I need to double check that price, but you get a lot. I love this spout. Being able to push the stuff out like this, I feel like I use less. I'm very careful with where I put it, and it just doesn't dry out. I keep having the other ones no matter what I'm doing. I'm wiping off the labels, everything, and it's still drying out. So it's just a great bargain. And if you haven't tried them yet, please get one. Make sure you use my link below and check it out because I think you're going to love it. This color is called 24 Carat Silver. So technically it's a silver, but I put it over this colored paper and it to me almost looks holographic. Just looks like a beautiful glittery effect, but you're still able to see the color underneath. I'll zoom ahead and we are going to try out putting these cards together. Before putting this card together, I wanted to show you the stamp sets that I use. I feel like I'm a connoisseur of Pet Sympathy stamp sets with a sister who's a vet and loves my cards. So I use both of these. I think if I was going to pick one, this waffle flower with the script and the regular font are really look nice, but they both have great sentiments. So let's put together a card. I started with one of the sparkle rainbows and my backgrounds, cut it down. These little dogs are die cut sentiments on their own. And I'm using the Erin Lee Creative Black Glossy, which is nice. I actually did the first one in glossy accents and decided this black glossy paper, especially when you only need a little bit, is awesome. So this is a waffle flower sentiment. I used these clouds that come in the Erin Lee Creative Kit, and I actually added a little bit of Hero Arts glitter pen on them to give them some glittery effects too. And I think it just turned out great. These puppies from Tailored Expressions, I feel like Tailored Expressions sometimes is a little hard to get a hold of unless you have a local craft store. So I will try to link. I don't have a affiliate link for them, but I will try to put a link in there just so you can see where you can get it. I use my roll of Scotch foam tape, which is a thinner foam tape, but with this rainbow and the glitter, it was a little popped up, so I needed to pop up the bottom of my clouds. And I just love adding dimension with foam tape, so I used some of that there. Off screen, I die cut and stamped all of the sentiments in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. This ink is so black. I love it. And so it stays a little bit wet for a while, so it's very easy for me to emboss over it. So I used the Wow Clear embossing, embossed over all of the sentiments to kind of match the glossy parts of the little puppies too. So that was just a little extra added thing that I did off camera that I wanted to let you know. So here's how this one looks finished. I mounted the card on jet black Altenew cardstock and pressed it all down, and I think it looks awesome. We're going to look at a couple of other options that I made, and then we'll be done with this video. So this is another one that had the bottom of the sun ray kind of cut off. So I decided I was going to put clouds across the top. I do not have any cloud border dies, so I used these bouncy stitched trails from Lawn Fawn, and then I fussy cut around them. So we'll fast forward to what all these cards look like, and you can see some of these different products. Here's the final cards. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your support. Make sure you hit the like button, click subscribe, and if you're interested in any of these products or companies, please go through the links I provided at the end. Those have a small commission for me, and they really help me run this channel. So I would appreciate all your support. Thanks again, guys. I hope to see you soon.